Packers.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Gem Drafter. I'm your host, James Newton, joined by my co host, Payson Burnett.
Hello, hello.
And I'm going to start calling him my other co host, Jake, aka Super Packers.
Yeah, draft day pod. Woo!
So, yeah, exciting, guys. We are recording on Saturday morning when round 4 is currently happening right now. And so, we're just going to give you some day 1 and day 2 reactions and kind of go through some Superflex rookie rankings. The first thing I want to talk about is, I guess it was the second trade, but I think it's a little bit more important than the other one that happened. So it's AJ Brown going to the Eagles. Uh, so the Titans received pick 18, where they took Treylon Burks, and then they also received a third round pick that they ended up trading away for AJ Brown. Jake, I'm going to throw it to you first. What was your reaction to this?
My initial reaction was sadness because I don't have a lot of confidence in Jalen Hurts, but I guess there is some hope, and maybe this will help him out. I think it actually helps the other receivers on the Eagles to get open, but I'm still not. I guess I still don't know how to feel about it completely, but it's not ideal. I would have rather had him stay in Tennessee.
I feel like he's not getting a ton of targets either way. So it's like the same kind of low volume pass offense run first team with the Eagles and the Titans. So it doesn't really matter that much to me for AJ Brown. I think it's more of a huge opportunity for Jalen Hurts. And I feel like he moves up the ranks. He's kind of solidified in that like second round startup pick range to me. And trade value wise, I think he's got to be up there too. He should probably be going before Trevor Lawrence, before Justin Fields, before Trey Lance, especially Trey Lance, who's never going to start. But that might be a hot take, might not be.
Oh man, you're gonna get tweets and DMs now.
Oh yeah, because I've gotten a lot of tweets about the pod so far.
At Payson _ Burnett. I finally got it right.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that he's definitely going to have less target share, less market share in Philly because they have Devonta and Dallas Goedert, and I think all the running backs there can pass catch. And I don't know. I'd have to look up the passing volume for the Titans and the Eagles, but I'm guessing it's not
They are 31 and 32.
Oh, really? You know that
Yeah,
for a fact? Okay.
yeah.
So that's not good.
And they've like bebop back and forth a little bit, but yeah, 31 and
But
32.
AJ Brown's that type of stud where he only needs 3, 4, or 5 receptions to make your fantasy day. So, I mean, there is that part of the equation as well.
He's super talented. I think in the end he'll end up okay. It's I wouldn't want to discount him based on the landing spot and surrounding players, but I still believe in the talent. He's one of my favorite receivers. So
I feel the same, and I bumped him down a little bit, but barely anything in my wide receiver rankings. Like, I'd still want him over Debo. I think I'd still want him over DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin. Not 25 yet, so I'm feeling all right about it. Anyway, you guys gave your takes. I gave mine. We can move on to the first trade that happened in the NFL draft. Um, as far as like players moving, which was Marquise Hollywood Brown got traded to the Cardinals, where he links back up with one of his college quarterbacks, Kyler Murray. So the Ravens received the 23rd pick from the Cardinals, and the Cardinals received Marquise Brown and a third round pick, number 100 overall, where they drafted a defensive end. Irrelevant to our dynasty stuff here. Um, so I don't know how I feel about this one. I'm not really on Marquise Brown because of the injuries and just I don't know, just kind of that speedster, smaller player. Seems like it's a lot of risk attached to him. Payson, how are you feeling about this deal going down?
So I think it's pretty interesting. Apparently, Hollywood said like he asked for the trade, and he had talked to Lamar about it before, which Lamar reacted like what just happened to me. But I am not on Marquise Brown. I think he's too small. I think he just wanted to have more fun, and so he wanted to go to like a more pass first offense. And so that makes sense for like Hollywood, but I don't think he's going to be a top 12 wide receiver in the league or even really top 20 to me. He's boom bust from a fantasy perspective, and I don't think that really changes that much. His targets might go up a little bit, but I still think that Arizona, probably to their detriment, passes the ball or shifts the ball around to different wide receivers too much. And so then he's not going to get a ton of targets.
Last year, Christian Kirk had 77 receptions for 982 yards and 5 touchdowns. I don't know where that puts him on the wide receiver production list as far as like ranking. But you know, if Hollywood plays a full season, 80 receptions, 1,000 yards is not out of the realm of possibility, especially with Hopkins, you know, having these soft tissue injuries getting later on into his career. Definitely some opportunity there. But then you got to ask, like, is this team, you know, gonna be? They got to be good, right? I mean, it's a tough division, but they definitely have weapons and a good quarterback.
Yeah. Last year, Marquise Brown had 145 targets, 91 receptions, just over 1,000 yards. I don't see him like crushing that number. Maybe he meets it. Maybe he's a little bit short. Maybe he's more like 80 receptions and 900 yards, which is pretty much what Kirk had. So,
Jake, do you
what
feel
say
like
you,
it's the
Jake?
way?
I had a lot of hope for Rondale Moore, the opportunity that was in front of him for targets, and so this definitely changes that. I don't know if it's going to happen for Rondale Moore anymore, but Payson also traded me Rondale Moore, and I gave him a discount running back, James Conner, at the time that before they re-signed him. So I got fleeced. But Marquise Brown, I think he's got talent. I don't think he's going to be a quit and be a professional video gamer. And maybe him going there will kind of get Kyler Murray to buckle down and be a little bit more on the business side, a little more focused. So I think it's gonna be a good thing for the team, good thing for Kyler. And I don't have any Hollywood Brown, but I wouldn't mind picking up a couple shares.
There's no doubt that he's a more deadly weapon on the field than Christian Kirk. Like I know Kirk's fast too, but Hollywood's like a mid 4.3s guy. So like
Right.
Anytime
you can escape from the Ravens as a wide receiver is a good thing for your career, I think.
But people are getting
really his thought too.
What's his face now? Bateman's blowing up in value.
Yep. I like Bateman.
I was gonna say, speaking of James Conner, dodged the draft. Payson's loving that one.
Yeah, we'll just keep dancing. Just keep dancing. Keep dancing.
Yeah.
We could do a friendly reverse
really
the trade, and you could just give him back to me because you're a nice guy.
No,
what?
Not going to happen. No. I had Rondale Moore in 2 teams, and that was one of my things that I wanted to do prior to the draft. Not exactly how I thought it would go down, but I didn't want to be holding on to him heading into the draft. So I took a 206 in one league for him, which felt like I was probably giving him away. But again, I wanted to get rid of him, like too much of a risk going into the draft.
So I would like to move on to talking about the quarterbacks, which were very disappointing, except for my boy Kenny Pickett, who even was still kind of disappointing. Like none of these quarterbacks were high picks. So Kenny Pickett fell to Pittsburgh at pick 20. I like the landing spot because of the weapons. I know that the concern is the offensive line. Are they going to be still deteriorating? Are they going to be able to give them time? But I was in the Dynasty Theory draft party the last 2 nights, which was on Discord. It was really fun, actually. Just 20 of us in there, like shooting it while we're watching the draft. And They were ragging on Pickett. They're like, as long as he has a right tackle, he'll be fine. Like, cause he's just gonna go to the right every single time. Like, so I like the weapons. I like that he has Najee too to take a little bit of heat off him. What say you, Jake?
I think it's good for the Steelers. It's kind of what I figured they were gonna do. It's a win-win. If Trubisky works out, good for them. They got him a cheap quarterback. If he doesn't work out, then they can develop Kenny Pickett and also have a cheap quarterback. So I think it's they got two eggs in their basket, and if one of them works out, good for the Steelers. I think that Trubisky, I have a sneaky feeling that he's going to do better than we all think, which is good for Kenny Pickett. He can learn, he can get used to the NFL system, and have a little time to get comfortable and not turn into a Deshaun Kaiser situation.
Oh boy,
Ooh, Kaiser, good memories, bad memories, whatever. Good name to remember. I am in the Trubisky is trash camp, so I think Kenny Pickett starts by week 2, week 4. I don't know. I haven't looked at the schedule. Maybe they'll like wait until like some really hard games happen. Like if they play the Ravens in week 1, I don't think Pickett starts, something like that. But I don't think that Kenny Pickett's good either, Mr. Small Hands. But I think that it's more about the 1 year of good production and less about the small hands. So I think he is just as risky as Ritter and Willis and Corral. And I think if the Steelers knew that those 3 were going to last as long as they did, then they really overdrafted Pickett. But we'll see what happens. That's the great thing here. We can know pretty quickly here and whether or not this was a good pick or not.
But Trubisky threw 6 touchdowns in one game. He's the GOAT.
Goatius Slayton was the GOAT too.
It's a good point, Payson. It's one of two things. It's either Pickett is that much better than those guys, or they way overdrafted him, and we're gonna find that out. And I'm super excited because
he is that good.
I hope that he's that good. And so, where are you guys drafting Pickett in Superflex? Did he move up at all for you because of the being the only quarterback taken and going to a decent landing spot?
Middle of the first, right? I'd take him in the middle of the first. I wouldn't take him any earlier than that.
He is 7th on my board.
So I'll take him 6th so that I get
there we go.
Scoop them all up and snipe Payson.
Yeah, real snipe, and then I'll be happier because I'll have Treylon Burks. Thank you.
These landing spots are so tough. Like I put him at 3, but that's a tentative ranking. Like just because, like all the landing spots have a hole you can poke in them. Like Jets, I know they loaded up on weapons, but are they going to be really good? Seattle, they don't have a quarterback. New Orleans for Olave, like Jameis, Watson, he's a project wider. He has a lot of raw talent, but he's kind of a project. Like Jameson Williams, you got Jared Goff. Like it's kind of a mess. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see rookie drafts. But
I don't think Goff is as bad as everybody thinks he is.
I tend to agree, and I was kind of making that point on the last podcast. And now he's loaded with weapons, man.
Yeah, dude, Lions are going to be good now.
I would not be surprised if they were second best team in the NFC North this year.
This year, even. I have still been thinking about it like they are not ready to compete, but getting better. And they right now look better than they have looked in a while. But I still think it's like 2024 before they're competitive.
Once Goff's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So Desmond Ritter, I forgot exactly which pick he got drafted at, but round 3, right, to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to do anything there at all, or?
So I think that Ritter, similar to Pickett, can take over pretty much immediately from Mariota. So I think that Ritter's in the same spot basically as Pickett, but was just drafted a lot later. And I think that goes for the other quarterbacks too. But I think Ritter probably starts in 2022. So feels like he's going to be a great value in rookie drafts. He still has the running upside. He's got good speed. And even if he's not that good, like he throws a ton of picks, I could still see him working out for fantasy. Now it could be one of those like Atlanta's terrible 1-year rental because they only spent a third on him and they draft somebody in the first round next year. So maybe long-term value is still a risk for Ritter, but I think year one you might get some production.
I didn't see too many Raiders games with Mariota in there, but the ones that I saw, they all they had Mariota do was run once in a while with the ball. I didn't get to see what kind of passer he is at this point in his career. So it's going to be really interesting to see if he still has it or if it's just gone, his passing ability. On the betting side of it, I think Mariota is not going to do very well. So Ritter we'll get an early look and see what he can do, which is exciting. And I don't know if is he gonna slip into the second in a Superflex league?
I think so right now.
So that's just a cheap shot.
There's a lot of them that move up. So.
Well, and you got to think that I know you're not high on him, Payson, but you got to think that Zamir White kind of has an opportunity to jump into that 201, 202 range.
Zamir White, hold on, still scrolling. Yeah, mid third round pick. Okay.
Does Payson like Zamir White?
He hates him.
Oh, he hates him? Okay.
Yeah. And like, I don't like the Raiders fit either. I think that's terrible landing spot. I don't know. Good luck at 202.
Well, Jacobs is a pass catching. He can catch the ball very well. We haven't seen.
Is Kenyon Drake still alive too, or no?
Oh yeah, I forgot Kenyon Drake is still there. Oops.
And they're paying him. How much are they paying him? Let's look at the contract here.
A lot. While you're looking that up, I just want to say I think Ritter and Mariota are kind of similar players, so that might help Ritter with his development. And I can't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago when Mariota came in for Carr when he was slightly hurt at one point, and he threw a dime down the left sideline to Waller, but that was his only real pass. So
wow, it's an $8 million dead cap. So they're not moving on from him. They're keeping Drake.
Yeah. So maybe I'm high on White there as far as like what the consensus is going to be, but I think that even if he's a slow burn as far as like development, I liked him as a talent, so I don't mind waiting a little bit.
Yeah, I think people are kind of forgetting how bad Mariota was. So like 2017, he started 16 games, 453 pass attempts, 3,200 passing yards, 281 completions, 13 TDs, more interceptions than TDs. He did have 5 rushing touchdowns, but
what was his first? Did he do good the first year though? There was some promise there that he would turn out, and then it just didn't happen.
The second year he threw for 3,400 yards and had 26 TDs, rushed for 300. So you kind of felt like maybe he could do well.
I remember in Superflex startups, there was him and Jameis Winston were the new up-and-coming young quarterbacks, and that didn't work out well if you drafted him in the third round in a startup. I know because my good friend Jacob did that.
Not you, right?
Not you.
It was me. It was me. It was terrible.
I saw somebody do that in one of my first Superflex Dynasty leagues back years ago.
I took Andrew Luck round 1 and then Marcus Mariota in the third round. So it's been interesting in that team.
Still holding on. That's good. You didn't leave.
Yep.
Cheers to that.
There's a real possibility that Ritter, Willis, and Corral like absolutely do nothing and are just career backups. That's kind of the fear.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Willis. What does Payson think of Malik Willis, the ultimate faller, going to the Tennessee Titans?
So everybody in our leagues listens to this podcast, so this is going to be an unfortunate take, but I think Willis is like the perfect second round rookie pick right now because he's probably not going to play at all. And then there's going to be this assumption that he can play in 2023. And then you can get out for more than you paid. So you turn your mid-second into a late first in 2023. But now everybody just heard that, and it's not going to happen for me. But maybe somebody else listening to the pod can make that deal.
That's okay. You make a lot of money off this podcast, so it's worth it, right?
Been
I
rubbing
don't know.
shekels together.
I don't know if he's going to slip to the second just from all the hype pre-NFL draft.
Well, in
I
that
don't-
case, he's pushing down better wide receivers, better running backs.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
What does he have for receivers? He can throw to Robert Woods.
Treylon Burks.
Treylon
Oh,
Burks.
Treylon Burks. That's right.
Yeah.
That was very confusing. Trade away AJ Brown and pick Treylon Burks.
Seems like it was
It's
about
basically
money.
bought 4 more years. Well, I guess 4 or 5, 4 more years of.
Did you see the shot of the coach like walking away from his computer as they traded him? Was that a
Yeah.
happy walk, a not happy walk? What?
I'm going to go with not happy walk.
So Darren, aka Negro Damas, in our one league, he's my buddy in real life. He was like, he's pretty high on Burks. He was saying that he's like gonna basically be AJ Brown in that offense. And I mean, I'm not high on Burks, but I can see that he's gonna get massive target share as a rookie. So I mean, I think that's a pretty high likelihood of success for him.
Yeah, it's kind of the easiest 1-for-1 replacement.
It's gonna breathe a little bit of life into Bobby Tree's value too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. If he can recover and get back on the field. I was looking at Tannehill's contract real quick.
Ooh, what about Austin Hooper?
Yeah, I mean, sneaky tight end premium guy.
He was actually decent when the Falcons used him. So,
and he's not old. He's like 27.
Did they draft a tight end?
No, I think the Colts did. Jelani Woods.
Yeah,
they might have though. But I was looking at Tannehill's contract. He's definitely there for this year unless traded, and then even next year it's 18 million to cut him.
Man, where's Weidermeyer gonna go?
Oh,
he's not getting drafted. Yeah,
maybe. I mean, we're still in the 4th round, so we'll see what happens.
Ooh, here we go. Live update. Bum, 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 bum. The Patriots have drafted at 137 overall Bailey Zappi to replace Mac Jones.
To sit on the bench for his entire career. I thought you were going to say Kevin Harris, and I was about to get upset. I mean, I'd be happy that
still not drafted.
That's okay. I mean, I always have 1 or 2 of those every year, like Rodney Anderson, Preston Williams. This year it's Kevin Harris. The NFL just doesn't like him. It's okay. Can't be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, and even if he goes in the 5th, 6th round, I mean, I'm still going to draft him in like the 3rd round of rookie drafts. Just take a shot. See if he works his way up a depth chart. But let's talk about the QB1 for the Carolina Panthers, Matt Corral. QB1 in Payson's heart as well.
Yeah, I think good landing spot. I think the ability to again start right away. That's why I think I'm so happy with Ritter and Corral. Like they should be cheap, and if they're not cheap, they're pushing somebody else down because like the profile is still not great getting drafted so late. But Corral could start in 22, and then he's getting you points in Superflex, and even if he's not good, like 20 points in Superflex is still 20 points in Superflex, or 15 points, which is still better than, I don't know, 90% of wide receivers, 90% of running backs.
Yeah, I think it's a great landing spot, but yeah, like you said, just not ideal draft capital, which kind of murks up the waters a little bit. Kind of sucks. You feel any certain way about Matt Corral, Jake?
I have so much Sammy Darnold shares. So much, but whatever. It's didn't work out. Matt Corral, I think, is better than people think. The injury pushed him down. So let's go. Matt Corral time. Let's go.
So do you think it's better for DJ Moore to to have Matt Corral start or Sam Darnold?
Couldn't be worse.
Yeah, it couldn't be worse.
Roll. All right,
I think is he our second quarterback behind Kenny Pickett in a rookie superflex draft?
I'd prefer Ritter.
You prefer Ritter?
Personally.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
I don't. Sorry, go ahead, Payson.
I think Ritter's rushing upside's a little higher than Corral's, and he did get drafted first and third round. Like it's almost like whatever. I think they all go right around each other. I could actually see Willis getting drafted in rookie drafts ahead of Ritter and Corral. I don't think that should happen, but I think that will happen. Again, kind of like what you said about people holding that upside, that theoretical upside.
Yeah, I think you're going to be able to get two of these quarterbacks in the second possibly, and why not? Let's take some shots.
I think Ritter is a little bit more conservative with the ball, like less prone to turnovers. That's why I would prefer to take him over Corral. But anyway, we can move on to the kind of the glory of this draft, the wide receivers that kind of saved it and going with really, really high draft capital. And the first one off the board, which I saw, I think that guy used to have a podcast, those rankings that you posted, Payson, from.
Oh, he still does. Yeah, Nathan Powell.
I clicked on his profile and it didn't show it in there, so I thought maybe he was.
I
know
he still does.
Yeah. There's a million fantasy football podcasts out there, and it's tough to like keep on the grind when there's not too much growth or traction going on. But anyway, I saw that he had Drake London at 101.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a popular take. I think everybody's leaning into the target upside because what else is there in Atlanta? Like it's Kyle Pitts and blank. So London fill blank in year one.
And Kevin Harris.
Kyle Pitts gets a buddy now. He gets a buddy.
Yeah.
So
friends.
Who's taller, Kyle Pitts or Drake London?
Good question.
I think
they're probably both similar in size, right?
Yeah, that's the Twin Towers of Atlanta. Kyle Pitts is 6'6". He is definitely taller.
They should switch jerseys and try to fool the defense.
Yeah, so they got 6'4" Drake London, 6'6" Kyle Pitts now. That's pretty awesome. That's another reason why I like Ritter over Matt Corral. I just think the weapons, even though he has Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore, I just think the passing weapons in Atlanta are gonna be better for. I mean, maybe not, but Christian McCaffrey is gonna get hurt in week 3. So.
Oh, you really just said that? You just put that on him?
Foreman season.
So I think that the weapons are still better in Carolina, and I think it really is Christian McCaffrey. If Atlanta also has a really terrible line, so like Ritter's going to be running for his life. Not that Carolina has a great line, but it might be like 30th versus 26th or something like that.
The Steelers just took Calvin Austin III.
Ravens doubled up on tight ends.
So it wouldn't be a Gem Drafter podcast if when we mentioned Christian McCaffrey, I didn't just say the name Saquon Barkley. I just said to say the name.
There was one year where I couldn't decide between Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook, so I just took Samaje Perine instead to the Redskins. I was like, whatever, I just need a safe running back too. I don't know who to pick, so I'll just pick this other guy. It was a bad decision. Bad memory.
Oh, in a rookie draft?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, Samaje was going like 11, 12 that year, but I could see people bumping him up because he was a good prospect. I mean, that game against, I think, Kentucky, he like broke one of the SEC rushing records, something like that, 300 yards. And the Ravens just, they just took another tight end. What the heck? They're not going to.
What are you doing, Ravens?
I could see them converting Isaiah Likely to wide receiver because he's kind of a slighter frame.
Isaiah Likely. It's unlikely I'll be drafting him.
I wish I had the rim shot on there. Oh, I do.
Ha!
Got it.
So
Got him.
where are you guys taking Drake London in Superflex rookie drafts?
Behind Christian Watson.
I agree.
You agree? Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not
You
gonna.
guys are nuts.
I agree with like the
Oh, we're
target.
Packers fans. We are. We got to be nuts.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, nice. Now we got a 2-on-1 this time instead of 2-on-1 on me.
Yeah.
Last podcast was 2 Lions fans against me.
So I don't know how you can take Christian Watson over Drake London. I still think Drake London or Garrett Wilson. That's like the three that went kind of first: Drake London, Garrett Wilson, and Chris Olave. I think it's between those three, and I don't really care which one I take for the first wide receiver. So I might as well take the third wide receiver. And yes, I did take out Jameson Williams. I think Jameson Williams has too much risk just with the injury. So I think in a rookie draft, I would rather just take somebody that I know for sure is going to start the year playing. Now, it could be that JMO ends up being, a second round startup pick next year, and the others are more like fourth round picks, and I messed up there. But then I also have the Lions fandom in me, and I can enjoy that.
Yeah, you might want to say JMO on the rocks a little bit there. I just can't, I gotta hold on at least for a little while here onto my London take of like I don't like him that much. So I would actually I'm not gonna get him because he's gonna go high, and I would rather have like these guys that I think are attached to better quarterbacks like Olave. I mean, Olave might not be attached to a better quarterback, but Watson, Williams. I guess
I've already
Williams
seen a
is
lot of people saying that Olave is the number one wide receiver now. So it's not even a hot take now.
You said, you don't care which one you get. So that's why I'm actually feeling really good about a 105 pick in super flex leagues right now. Like, Hall and Walker are still going to go before then. And then whichever wide receiver you get of the top three, just take them.
Are you guys still thinking Garrett Wilson is top two or three? The Jets
top three.
spot?
Yeah.
Not I.
Yeah, top three for me. I'm like not even concerned. Maybe I should be. Talent one's out. Zach Wilson to the moon.
So Newts, where do you
Wilson
have
to
Christian
Wilson.
Watson? Like, who are you going to take in front of him?
Olave.
Olave, and that's it?
Probably. Yeah, I mean, like I'm still like messing around with my rankings post like NFL draft. Like I think that it's okay to kind of, have an initial take and then
Yeah. Next week you're going to be feeling a little different, and that's fine.
I got thrown off by Payson just commenting in the sheet about my Christian Watson ranking of 5 overall. I don't think that's nuts. I think your argument for London, I know he's technically more developed than Watson, which I don't even necessarily believe. But I mean, Watson, all he's going to do is get targets, right?
I mean, after Lazard eats, then I guess Watson can get some leftovers.
That's just absolutely ridiculous. You were like the ultimate Christian Watson truther, and now you're like, because you love Lazard so much, you have to give me crap about putting Watson.
I just still think that Watson's pretty raw, so I'm taking all the first round not all, not Jahan Dotson, but most of the first round wide receivers over him. Like,
so you will have 0 Watson then.
Well, I already have some Watson, so I guess that's good. Maybe I'll be trading Watson though if that's his value.
Watson or JMO?
JMO.
Interesting.
Yeah. Watson
or Pickens?
Pickens.
Whoa, bro.
I'm just kidding. No.
I hate.
No, that's not true. I can't.
I think I would rather have Pickens than Garrett Wilson. Like, I mean, what's the difference between their situations? Really, like, there's so many weapons now, and a good running back in New York for the Jets. Like, those targets are going to get.
I like that you have that take, but I think that is a terrible take.
Yeah, I got to go Wilson, man.
I mean, top 10 wide receiver, top 10 draft pick, number 2 wide receiver drafted.
I like that Pickens is going to be pushed down though from all these other wide receivers. So I'll get some Pickens. I'm going to try to snipe James in a couple leagues here.
Go ahead. I'll just get Mechie then. I think that Wilson's going to, in certain leagues, I think Wilson's going to drop a little bit for you guys. So you'll probably scoop him up.
There's so many wide receiver choices. There's just so many. If you miss on one, you'll get the other one. Kind of like you said, it's going to be awesome.
So we kind of got into Wilson then. So Wilson was the second wide receiver taken. Everybody knows, to the Jets. I think that it's going to be similar to Pittsburgh, where they have Claypool and Deontay. Maybe they, after this year, they're kind of, the MO in Pittsburgh is kind of let the wide receiver walk. So maybe Deontay walks after this year if he's not under contract, and it's Claypool and Pickens. And
does Deontay Johnson drop a lot of balls? Because somebody told me that he drops balls all the time.
Last year,
he had a spell
or 2 years.
He had a little
ago.
spell, but I think he cleaned it up a little bit. So I could definitely see them letting him walk and Pickens stepping into a bigger role, whereas Wilson's kind of locked in with Moore and all these rookie contract pieces for the Jets. But both situations have a question of whether or not the quarterback's going to step up and make these weapons, fire on all cylinders. So that's definitely interesting. I think they're really similar teams right now as far as their development. But the Jets have a much younger offensive line that has question marks, and Pittsburgh has a really old offensive line that's been deteriorating and has question marks. So that's kind of
good for Jets fans though. They needed to be happy, and that team is getting turned around. So
I think Ruckert's going to be a sneaky pick for 2 tight end premium leagues.
Yeah.
Uzama, is he really going to hold him back? I mean, he could for a year, but that might be someone that you draft.
I would say a year or two, but year 3, just remember Jeremy Ruckert, and he'll probably be cheap or free. You might be able to trade a 3rd round pick for him in 3 years, and then that's the year that he finally kind of takes off.
In all these start 2 tight end leagues that we're in, though, people are just going to hold. They're just going to hold them.
Yeah. So we already talked about Jameson Williams a little bit too. A little nervous about whether or not he's going to be on the field to start the season, and really the biggest question mark is Goff going to be able to feed Williams, Chark, Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift. How many targets does Swift get? I guess Payson kind of said his piece on Williams, but Jake, I didn't really hear how you were feeling about him.
I really thought the Packers were going to draft him. I like Jameson Williams. I think he's going to be great. Like you said, I don't know. He's not going to play right away, the injury. But I will take all of the Williams I can get. I've got faith that he's going to turn out. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for Payson to have a good wide receiver. He can get a new jersey. The Calvin Johnson jersey can go in the closet, and get the Williams jersey.
My wife was saying that it looks pretty good right now still, and it's because I only wear it maybe once or twice a year, my fantasy football draft that I do in person, and then sometimes around the NFL draft I might wear it. Today.
Is Calvin Johnson's number retired for the Lions?
I don't know. I don't think so. That relationship also kind of soured. We tried to get money back from him and stuff. I don't know.
Did weird. $2 or $3 million he had to pay back, or
so
bad look.
I was going towards if Williams adopts the number 81, you just could get a piece of duct tape and write Williams on it.
That's controversial.
Oh, like that legendary Browns jersey where they just keep duct taping or masking tape the new quarterback's name, and they had 19 or 20. It's going down the jersey.
I'm just trying to save you a little bit of money with my thoughtful ideas.
Well, yeah, since you don't pay me.
Hey, you said you were holding out on your takes, so I had to cut your paycheck, man.
From 0 to negative, I gotta pay you.
Yeah. I should put that out on Twitter. Hey, $20 if you guys want to get on the pod. I'm
There
just
you go.
kidding. So Olave went to New Orleans. A lot of not being able to think of the right word to say for me, but made me feel happy that Olave was traded up for with so much draft capital and went so highly. Jake, I mean, we've already touched on a lot of these wide receivers, and we're going to
Right.
get to the guys we haven't really talked about, but you guys are pretty confident in Olave.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
He
draft
might
him
be the safest.
with comfort.
Yeah, he's probably the safest of the top three, which probably means that he should be first, just because he's the safest.
Yeah, I think his skill set is kind of across the board, and then Michael Thomas is going to be that short intermediate guy if he can stay healthy. Which, so hopefully Jameis can curb the turnovers like he has never been able to in the past, really, and stay healthy.
Just let it rip, Jameis. I
Yeah,
need you for fantasy.
I think even if Jameis goes down or has a bad year, like Olave is going to hold value. So I'm not really worried about it. I'm still going to take him as high as like pick 3 or 4, 5 if he falls that far. So one of the guys that I thought would fall for me now, because I did like him pre NFL draft, but I just don't know how to feel about Washington's situation, is Jahan Dotson. So he went at pick 16, I believe, to Washington. So you got to think, well, maybe this is an upgrade for Wentz, but now he's competing with 4 targets with Terry McLaurin. What do you guys think of Jahan Dotson and his landing spot, and maybe throw in where you're thinking about drafting him in Superflex?
So it kind of reminds me a little bit of Kadarius Toney, like that first round wide receiver that nobody really wants. And so he's a little bit smaller. Nobody really likes Washington. Nobody really likes Wentz. So I think he falls. But then at the end of the day, he's still a first round wide receiver. So I'm taking him after Watson, after Sky Moore, who we haven't talked about yet, but probably around that like 1-2 turn, and maybe slips more into the second, depending on the draft.
Where were people taking Brandon Ayuk when he got drafted? Was he a late first or early second?
I think he was an early second. It was like Higgins, Ayuk, and Denzel Mims. That was like 201, 202,
I think he's
203.
going to end up being there. I've always liked Penn State receivers. I'm not as big of a fan as Dotson as some of the other Penn State receivers that have come out, but I think I'm still going to definitely take a shot early second if he falls. That poor guy, man. You get drafted to the Commanders. You're like, oh,
darn, darn! I got drafted in the first round.
What about the one guy that got drafted to the Jets and he started walking the other way like he was trying to escape?
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that? I think it was was it Garrett Wilson? I don't know. There was it looked like he was trying to escape. He's like, "Oh no, I don't want to go to the Jets." And he's trying to run away. I think he was just going the wrong direction on accident, but you never know.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Jahan Dotson, and just kind of worried about that situation. Like, is there going to be enough targets to go around for everybody to eat? So it does kind of make me worry a little bit more about Terry McLaurin now, if he's going to end up being on that roster if they don't trade him. There's a little bit more of the pie taken away from him now. So let's move on to a lot of people's darling in this draft that went right after Dotson, Treylon Burks to Tennessee. We've already kind of touched on all these guys, like I keep saying, but I mean, the opportunity is going to be there for him, like big time. So I'm not afraid, even though I'm lower on him, I'm not afraid to go out and get him in a rookie draft. Like, I think I would go. So I have him at 10, just because I put some. Yeah, I'm not going to get him there, but like, I just have to put some of my other guys that I liked more ahead of him. So I guess I'm not going to get him, but I don't feel bad about him. I think he's gonna be all right.
I like that you
have
don't
him
have
at
to
6.
spend a 102 on him anymore. I like how you
Yeah.
can get him later now. So you don't have that N'Keal Harry risk of, oh shoot, he didn't work out and I spent the 102. If you spend a late first and he doesn't work out, you're like, oh whatever. Not as bad.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think we talked about it already, but like the vacated targets, the easy 1-for-1 replacement for AJ Brown, I think, yeah, year 1 looks pretty good. Kind of makes Burks a safer pick, which I think if he went literally anywhere else, he was probably a risky pick. But the risk was
Which one of
potentially
these
worth the
guys?
reward.
Which one of these guys do you think is going to have the most production in year 1 for wide receiver?
I think it's Drake London based on targets. Hashtag targets.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be him or Olave. Because Jameis.
Oh, we finally got a quarterback off the board. Sam
boy.
Howell,
To the
Washington Commanders, beginning of round 5. That hurts.
It's nice knowing you, Mr. Wentz.
Yeah, he immediately takes over. Kind of the same thing. It's like the Marcus Mariota,
Absolutely.
Desmond Ridder thing. No, not the same.
I mean, I could see it happening during the season, but not immediately.
So you really like Sam Howell, huh, Payson?
No, I just am trying to talk myself off the bridge. I may have drafted Sam Howell as an 8th round pick in our startup in the same league that I drafted Mr. Baker Mayfield with a 10th round pick.
Oh,
I may have just like shed a ton of value. Might be one of those like 2 weeks, 5 weeks after the startup, we're in rebuild mode.
Oh, okay. So we talked pretty extensively about Christian Watson already.
goat.
I'm higher on him just because of, I think, even though he's raw, I think he's more physically talented than the wide receivers that are currently on that roster. And I think.
Oh, you're not even going to say his name?
Devontae Adams came in really raw too, man. It's going to be awesome. He's going to be the new Devontae in 2 years.
Well, yeah, see, that's my big thing. Like Rodgers has never trusted a rookie wide receiver, or pretty much never. Maybe you say like Randall Cobb might have had a good
It's
rookie
the first
year.
time for everything, right?
This is
Randall
it.
Cobb did have a
The
good
raw wide receiver is the first one. The really raw wide receiver. Yeah.
I wonder if they consulted Rodgers before they made the pick.
Nah, they don't consult.
They let
Rodgers
him
on
in at
anything
all.
based on history. They don't consult about anything.
Maybe they learned their lesson. They're like, shoot, he's all mad. Let's bring him in here and get his opinion.
So let's talk about Sky Moore going to the Chiefs. How are you feeling about that, Payson, as the resident 2-team fan?
Yeah, resident. I might be able to at some point, dumb it down to or slim it down just to one team. Based on this upward trajectory that the Lions have, like going to the moon. I mean, it's great. But Chiefs fan in me, Sky Moore, I think a great pick, good value. Kind of surprised that the Colts took Alec Pierce over Sky Moore, but it was like pretty much back-to-back picks, if not back-to-back picks. So that part doesn't matter that much. Sky Moore slides in pretty easily right in that Christian Watson range to me, which is kind of more like 8, 9, 10. What about you, Jake?
He's a Chief. He got drafted by the Chiefs, so automatically he's gonna get drafted a little higher than maybe he normally would. I think he's a good wide receiver. A little bit of a Juju Smith-Schuster stan, so I don't know if he's gonna necessarily turn into the wide receiver 1, but we'll see. I'll draft him. Where do you think he's gonna go though in a rookie draft?
I think right around that Jahan Dotson range, maybe even ahead of Jahan Dotson based on the landing spot.
I think definitely ahead of Jahan Dotson.
Are you going to take Dotson first, or are you going to go Sky Moore?
I'm going to go neither.
Neither. You're going to take a running back instead?
Maybe. I don't know. It's still really, really early. I think We all need a little bit more time to just kind of sit in it, pacing. So yeah, I think that the KC offense is going to kind of be like Kelsey 1, Juju 2, probably Sky Moore 3 as far as like production, and then MVS, RIP. Poor
Oh,
one.
MVS, that's
Oh.
right.
So it's
That's
probably going
right.
to be Sky Moore and MVS on the outside, and then
What about Mecole Hardman? It's going to happen eventually, right?
Are you saying there's too many mouths to feed for the
Oh, too
Chiefs?
many mouths.
Oh, Patrick Mahomes can't throw it around the yard?
excuse me.
Yep. Maybe Patrick Mahomes is bad. No.
I
So-
guess that's probably James's take, based on how he almost coughed up and died.
Yeah. So I excused myself for a second there with coughing, and I think that KC is going to kind of be like Kelsey is the most fantasy production, and then everyone else is kind of like mediocre, but like has their weeks that are stable and help you out. So I don't know really how to feel about it quite yet.
I like how there's when it was Tyreek Hill, all you have to do is double cover Tyreek Hill. Defenses knew that. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with they have so many options now that they can kind of spread it out, confuse the defense a little bit, and I think it's going to turn out well. I like all the wide receivers they have, so
Yeah,
good
I
for the
think
Chiefs.
there's some risk because like Mahomes and Hill had this like mind meld thing where they're both just doing crazy stuff. Like Hill is not running regular routes. Mahomes is like doing weird sidearm throws. Like the idea of a rookie wide receiver coming in and having a good year one is kind of crazy because like it's hard to like know what he's gonna do and know what he wants you to do.
It's going to be terrible for fantasy. I don't know if you're going to be able to guess when to play which receiver. But real NFL, good for the Chiefs. But fantasy wise, I don't. I'll just take Kelsey, and that's all I need.
I still feel pretty confident in Juju. Let's
Juju or Sky Moore, which one do you prefer?
I want to say
Oof.
Juju.
That's a good question.
I'm Sky Moore.
Let's move on to the running backs. So pretty much everyone's consensus top running back, Breece Hall, went to the New York Jets. So they're just loading up on these weapons. Are you guys still taking Breece Hall at 101?
Yes, without a doubt.
I think you
Easy.
have to, just based on all the weapons being added, and like everyone loves Elijah Moore, and now everyone, Garrett Wilson. So Wilson to Wilson, really good wide receivers now, and adding Ruckert and adding Hall, it's just like hard to see that
Yep.
offense not being good in that division.
Michael Carter's a good change of pace back and good backup for Brees Hall. So I like that offense. I like the team. He's going to get a lot of opportunity in year one, and I think he ends up as a. Do you think he ends up as a running back one at the end of the year? There's a very good chance.
I think so.
I
At
think
least
he's
high
like right on that cusp. Yeah, like it might be more like RB15 instead of RB12 or RB10, but I think right there. And from a production standpoint, I think he's on that line too. So like a points per game, it's not going to be a noticeable drop from whoever makes it to top 12 versus Breece Hall.
That makes total sense. I like that take. So pretty easy take on Breece Hall. Like he's not moving around very much, but I think there's mixed feelings about Kenneth Walker going to Seattle in the second round. I think I still want to take him at 102 because the quarterbacks all fell, pretty hard, and the wide receivers all kind of having somewhat question marks at their landing spots, but also, Kenneth Walker, a lot of question marks in Seattle. Like, is that O-line getting solidified? Is the quarterback going to do anything to help him out? Or are there just going to be 8 men in the box all day? How are you feeling about Kenneth Walker?
I'll take that one. So Kenneth Walker, to me, I think he's going to have a great year one rushing season, but a little nervous about the receiving. So then the idea of RB1 probably not going to happen. He's probably more like a back end RB2, and he's like going to be touchdown and rushing yard dependent. He's not going to be able to save his day. Like if the Seahawks are down 20 points, which I think might happen a lot, he's not going to be on the field catching a ton of passes. He's not. They're not going to throw to running backs either. But it's a little risky from that standpoint. It's weird to say that. Like, and I heard this on a different podcast, but a high efficiency, high rushing attack is actually someplace where you don't really want that running back. Like you prefer to have the high powered offense, and then like that pulls the running back along, as opposed to a high rushing attack, and like the running back gets all the points, but they don't get a ton of points.
Well, Pete Carroll, aka Peach Cobbler, loves to run the rock, pound the rock. I think Walker is going to get a lot of opportunities. I don't know if the touchdowns are going to be there, just because that team is going to be so terrible, but I think he's going to get enough volume to be relevant and to be good. I think Kenneth Walker can put up points for fantasy, and I think Seattle can still be bad enough that they're going to get a maybe shot at a QB next year, and then that kind of changes the equation. If they do end up with a good QB next year, it could be Walker to the moon in 2023, 2024. So I'll still take him all day at 102. I believe in the talent, and I think that's how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
See, that's
and I said all that to say my 102 too.
And I like to say Peach Cobbler too.
I think the thing about Walker is that you might be able to buy him low if Seattle's bad, because look at that division, like 49ers, Rams. Why am I blanking on who the fourth team in that division is?
Cardinals,
yeah. All good teams with weapons, and like the Seahawks are the odd man out with no good quarterback. So maybe they are tanking this year. I mean, at this point, it seems like they are. So is maybe, they run Penny and Carson into the ground and don't give Walker much opportunity. And maybe like midway through the season, you can find a frustrated owner and get Walker cheaper than 102. I definitely think that's a possibility. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but it's definitely not the best situation. And usually top running backs are, alongside a top quarterback. So I don't know. I want to say I want to keep him at 102, but like I think it might be safer to take like an Olave or a wide receiver of your choice at 102.
Yeah.
Are they going to keep Chris Carson? $6 million cap hit, $3 million dead cap.
They very well could move on from him, and I've heard a lot of people say that they think he's not even going to get cleared medically from the neck.
Yeah, it's going to be like cut with injury designation or something like that.
I think he's going to get cut, and then the Eagles are going to pick him up, and then nobody's going to know who to play for the Eagles for fantasy. It's going to be confusing. It's going to be awesome. Chaos.
Excited already.
Yeah.
So I believe the third running back off the board was the second round, James Cook to Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Give me all the James Cook.
Yeah. Great landing spot.
Sorry, Devin Singletary owners. Sorry.
Was definitely not my RB3, but definitely my RB3 now.
Yep, without a doubt. Give me all the James Cook.
As much as I like Zamir White, I have to agree. I had initially like put him ahead down here because I forgot about Kenyon Drake, but you got to put Cook in that 112 range now, in my opinion. A lot of opportunity ahead of him.
Yeah, he's got that like Alvin Kamara upside, and I don't think he is Alvin Kamara. I don't think that's going to happen, but like the little bit smaller, maybe misused or underutilized in college, could be a much better pro than a college running back.
My only concern is the weight. Like he at the combine was only like 198, 199. So like he looks like he has size, but I just don't know.
He's going to get his production a little different than Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall. A little more passing focused, and that offense is so good already that the opportunities that he's going to get in the red zone I think are going to make up for him not running through the tackles as much. So he's still going to be somebody I'm targeting, definitely in the mid to late first if I need a running back. I'm not afraid to draft for need to. Best player available is the way to go most of the time, but there's some leagues where I'm going to need a running back, and I'm going to take James Cook.
Yeah, I think it's gonna bode well for a late pick, a little bit of a salvage of a late pick with these quarterbacks. Disappointing for sure.
Yeah. So I just pulled up Play Profiler because I was curious, and his best comparable is Andre Ellington, blast from the past, Arizona Cardinal that flashed a little bit, but never really put much together. So that would be kind of a downside case to me, like a little bit smaller.
I remember buying in an auction league for fantasy, buying Andre Ellington, and then the only reason I drafted David Johnson in the second round of the rookie draft, I knew nothing about David Johnson, but it's just because I had Andre Ellington, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to cover all my bases, and worked out pretty good.
So I got to go back real quick to wide receivers because I completely forgot about this guy because he went to the Browns and went in round 3. But how are you guys feeling about David Bell going to the Browns?
I feel like I can't predict what's going to happen with David Bell. Like so much production, but such a terrible athlete. I feel like he went earlier than I thought he was going to go. I thought it was going to be more like a 4th, 5th round pick. So, and that way his comps become a lot better. I've heard like Keenan Allen as one of the upside comps. And so then I think Jarvis Landry is like the other comp, which is kind of the mid range, and he kind of just replaces Jarvis Landry for the Browns. So that feels like a good spot for him, good draft capital. He's got to be in that mix kind of with Alec Pierce and kind of the mid-second wide receivers. So after that first group that has really good quarterback play, after that first group with really high draft capital, but still,
he could be sneaky. He's going to go so late in rookie drafts. He could be really sneaky. I think it's pretty low risk to spend a mid to late second and be able to grab him. Could be a high reward. Whether it's going to turn out or not, I kind of like Donovan Peoples-Jones, but with the quarterback they have now in the Browns, they probably can support more than 1 or 2 receivers for fantasy. So it could turn out. I just don't know if he's going to see the opportunity right away.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about them having a good quarterback now. I mean, when is he going to play? We don't know, but a lot of weapons there, like Cooper. So just to start with the wide receivers, Cooper, David Bell, Njoku, Harrison Bryant, and then the 2 running backs, Chubb and Hunt. Pretty interesting for fantasy. Might be a headache for fantasy. Might be a little bit too spread out for people's liking. So let's jump down to kind of a shocker. I believe it was a 3rd round pick, right? Ty Davis Price to San Francisco. You guys think this affects Elijah Mitchell at all? Pretty much RIP Trey Sermon, right?
I'm staying away from 49ers backfield. I feel like it's a New England Patriots situation. Just not even going to take part of it. Probably Elijah Mitchell is safe, I think, is the most likely outcome, but I don't want anything to do with him anymore. I've gotten burnt too many times.
I feel like whatever his name is doesn't really matter. Probably going to be a 3rd round rookie pick, and I'm probably going to be buying at that price because who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably produce 3 or 4 out of the 18 game season. And I think it might be, time to go check on the Elijah Mitchell price in your league. Just see if there's an owner that for some reason is bothered by that pick, because I do think he's still going to handle it when he's healthy. But that's probably why they made this pick, is because every single running back in that room either has problems or has problems staying healthy. So Probably a good call to avoid, like Jake said. Another pick that kind of muddied up a room, Brian Robinson from Alabama going to Washington Commanders. I think that he is just annoying enough to Antonio Gibson owners, like kind of in the same like Peyton Barber type deal where he's like just good enough to like get on the field and be like kind of a thumper and goal line type guy. That's just annoying enough for Antonio Gibson owners.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think the other thing here is like JD McKissick re-signed, probably still gets the passing downs. Now Brian Robinson maybe steals some TDs, maybe some of the other rushing work too, like the between the tackles stuff. And then you're like, well, what's left? Like this is like a three-headed monster on a terrible team or potentially terrible team. And so I like want no part of it. I think Brian Robinson probably goes like mid to late second. And that feels like that's probably a value, but I think I don't want to deal with it. So like I think I'm gonna draft everybody else first.
Yeah, Antonio Gibson, I don't know if it's going to happen all the way. I think everybody had this expectation that he was going to be the new Christian McCaffrey. I kind of started to sell him last year where I had him, just because I'm hedging my bet where it's not going to happen for him. So I'll take some Brian Robinson later, just because I'm not on the Antonio Gibson bandwagon like I was a few years ago.
Brian Robinson is one of those guys I'm just going to let other people draft. I don't think he's a special talent. Like, yes, he may have his 15-point weeks when he gets a touchdown or two on some goal line carries, but I'm just not in love with the talent. I don't think he can have a lot of burst or breakaway runs, so I'm good on that. I mean, and I'm not even high on this next guy, Rachaad White, going to Tampa Bay, but I think he's definitely got more upside than Brian Robinson, especially with Fournette being older. And I know he just re-signed a contract, but it's not really like that much guaranteed money.
Can
So,
Rachaad White pass protect? Otherwise, he's probably not going to see the field. Brady will make sure of that.
yeah, I mean, that's a good take. Payson, what do you think of Rachaad White going to Tampa Bay?
So he's pretty easily my RB4. I'm thinking he's right around that 1-2 turn. And it's probably not like you should safety wise, you should take the wide receiver. There are a ton of great wide receivers, but RBs are scarce. RBs get more opportunity in your year one. So that's where like James Cook and Rachaad White, like that's where they get to like the end of the first. And I think the QB's falling down, like that really hurts because this should be like a mid-second pick that's going to be ending up like a first-round pick or early second. So it's probably one of those bad picks, maybe like a Trey Sermon type pick.
Tyler Algier just went to the Falcons.
Oh, Tyler Algier just moved ahead of Rachaad White. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
That's the 5th round. That's good. I kind of like that.
So my boy Zamir White went to Las Vegas, but like we had already kind of previously talked about, I forgot that Kenyon Drake was still under contract there. I still like the talent of Zamir White. He's, probably a mid to early 3rd round rookie pick. At least that's where I'll definitely not be letting him go past. So I'm willing to spend that 3rd round rookie pick and just hold on, and maybe he gets some sort of opportunity and pays dividends. I could see it being like I'm not comparing the player to the player, but I could see it being an Aaron Jones type situation where like when Aaron Jones got drafted, he was a 5th round pick, right? So his rookie draft capital was way down there. Like I think a couple people in my leagues got him in the 4th round of rookie drafts that year. And then after I kind of saw him look good, I was paying like a mid-second for him. I think I could see a similar thing happening with Zamir White, depending on how that room gets shaken up.
Aaron Jones's production in college was crazy, though. I don't know what kind of production Zamir White had.
Not close.
I'm probably gonna scoop him up too if he's in the 3rd. I have so much Josh Jacobs that my kind of strategy is I kind of like to get the backups for the people I already have, just to cover all my bases. So I'll take a couple shots.
So I think it was 5th round, right? Right after or before Zamir White, Isaiah Spiller went to the Chargers.
Late fourth, yeah.
Huge
I like it.
fall from grace for Spiller. Do you guys think that he gets carries this year on the Chargers?
Eckler misses time once in a while, right? I think we'll get a good look. He'll get an opportunity, and we'll see what he has. I like it. I'll draft him.
Yeah, I think this
Never
is
been an
actually
Eckler guy.
a sneaky good landing spot. I was pretty excited about Justin Jackson, who I mentioned in the last pod, like not getting re-signed, kind of hurt my hopes. Kind of thought somebody would slide in here, so makes sense that they drafted running back. And I think a better pedigree than some people were expecting. While the draft capital's not there, I think the talent probably is. So I think this is a good spot. I think Spiller still ends up like a mid-second, despite going so late.
I think the main fear with this class is that it's like 2013, which was very, very poor for fantasy football.
I've been chasing those running backs. I've had Larry Roundtree, Joshua Kelly.
Yeah.
But I'll still chase the Chargers running back. It's a good team. They have a good, solid cornerstone quarterback. I'll take Spiller. Take all the Spiller.
Eckler was like relatively like pretty healthy last year, but he did have that. I think it was like the start of the fantasy playoffs where he was dinged up and missed a little bit of time and cost some people. But for the most part, he was pretty healthy last year. But he is turning like 27, right? So, not old, but age is definitely becoming a factor as far as like, guys getting in that age range are more prone to the injury. So yeah, Isaiah could be sneaky, like Payson said. And then the last one I'm going to bring up here, unless anybody else gets drafted, is Dameon Pierce going to the Texans, which I think is kind of irrelevant. I think Dameon Pierce is very similar to a Brian Robinson, like thumper, not explosive, like just not flashy. So I'm not really like excited about it. I'm just going to let somebody else draft him.
Is David Johnson still on the Texans?
Is he still in the NFL?
Yeah, I don't know if
I think he is.
I like Marlon Mack. Rex Burkhead is there.
Mark Ingram, right?
No,
he's back in the Saints.
Yeah,
I mean, he's.
I think it's a good spot for him to. There's going to be an opportunity. Rex Burkhead is we all know what he is. He's a body. Marlon Mack is the only person on that team I think is more talented, but we'll see what Matt can do, and if not, Dameon Pierce can get a shot.
Yeah, I think he slides in somewhere around that kind of mid-second price, similar to Isaiah Spiller. More based on potential workload, which is kind of a scary thing to do, but sometimes that works out. Probably a quick sell if he starts to look like he's getting a ton of carries, because I don't think it lasts.
We have to temper our expectations too, because Davis Mills is the quarterback.
Okay, so I'm really upset with myself because I didn't have him in the wide receiver list, and you know who I'm about to bring up because we're talking about Houston. How are you guys feeling about John Mechie getting drafted in the second round to Houston?
I think probably forgettable. Probably just not a great wide receiver. Doesn't really matter. That's probably why he wasn't on your list.
I have a certain finger up underneath my desk here. You guess
Is it a
which
thumbs
one.
up?
Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah, definitely.
You're going to be able to get Mechie so cheap in rookie drafts.
You think?
He's going to be forgotten about.
He's going to be in that same like late
first, in that
early second
range.
Really?
Yeah. Because Cooks is not young, and what else do they have there?
Well, I'm not going to have any of them then. I'm not going to draft them that high.
Yeah, I had him slid in at 203 for me. But yeah, I think he goes somewhere in that 110 to 203 range.
So let's talk about these lackluster tight ends then.
Do we have to?
Yes, we have to. Boss's orders. Trey McBride going to the Cardinals, pretty disappointing. Yeah. I mean, we think Ertz. I mean, I don't know for sure, but Payson is on the. I know he's given his take of Ertz being Dunzo. in the past. So maybe you're high on McBride. The UPS driver at my work's pretty high on McBride. He was like, dude, that's the type of guy you want on your team. Like, he knows how to hit a baseball. His hand-eye coordination's out of this
really good
world.
at playing chess and golf, man. So
Oh, he
athletic.
knows how to hit a baseball. That is not something I've heard before for a tight end as a quality you need.
Well,
Yeah.
Can he hit it better than Kyler Murray though? Maybe they can play baseball together. You know.
This is going to be it. It's like the shower narrative. It's going to be the
Yep.
baseball narrative.
Well, the
Whoa,
Cardinals
what's
are
the
gonna-
shower narrative here?
Oh, you haven't heard the shower narrative? It's the teammates in college. So they've showered together, and so they literally know each other. They really
okay. They
know
can
each
finish
other.
each other's sentences after they take a shower together. I see.
Yeah, yeah.
the Cardinals are taking Jerrion Ely, so then there'll be a baseball family there. Jerrion
you
Ely
go.
played baseball at Ole Miss.
We have a lot of start 2 tight end leagues. The ones where we start 1, that's tight end premium. So we're gonna have to take shots on these tight ends. I'm desperate for tight end in a couple of those leagues, so I'm gonna have to take some shots here. I don't know yet enough about these tight ends to make a decision. I'm gonna have to do a little further research.
It's
Yeah.
probably going to be a waiting game, honestly. Like Payson said earlier, it's probably going to be a year 3 thing with some of these guys.
Yeah, I feel like they should be third round picks, and you guys are all going to be crazy and say it's 2 tight ends, tight end premium. I'm going in the mid second. I'm going to be like, I'm not paying that price. And then I'm going to keep starting Ricky Seals Jones, which is terrible. But
Snoop Connor just went to Jacksonville.
so Snoop Connor over Kevin Harris. Thanks for that hot tip, man.
Yeah, that's rough.
I like the start 2 tight end leagues though, because the struggle is real. It sucks at sometimes, but it makes you have to pay attention to tight end and have to invest in them. I think it should be that way. It's an important position, and quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and you got to get tight ends. So I'm excited.
Is Kevin Harris gonna go in the 6th round to the 49ers and overtake Ty Davis Price?
Yes,
the new Elijah
that
Mitchell?
is. Yeah.
Tyler Beatty is still out there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys pay attention to Paul Perticchese. Paul Perticchese on Twitter. Shout out to him. He gives his immediate take on every pick as it's drafted. And he was saying how bad the Ty Davis Price, I forgot to mention this earlier, how bad the Ty Davis Price fit was, and how it just doesn't make any sense that they drafted him, especially drafted him where they did. Like they could have waited till the 4th or 5th round, and they're taking this guy that doesn't
they don't
fit their
seem to know
scheme.
what to do with running back, right? San Francisco is terrible at drafting running backs.
They could have waited till round 5 and gotten Kevin Harris. Like, what the hell? They should hire me. Fire John Lynch, hire Newts.
There we go.
I'll
Solved.
take a $75,000 a year salary, which is probably much less than Mr. Lynch.
He's probably making 7.5 million. I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna up it then to 200.
Wow,
Still
aggressive.
super cheap.
I want to see where Kyron Williams goes. Everyone's
He's
off
not
of him.
going, dude. He's not going.
Everyone's off of
If he
him.
goes ahead
I'll
of
take
Kevin
a shot.
Harris. I'm gonna be very angry.
I
Dude,
mean, if
some
Snoop
people had
Connor just
him.
got drafted, yeah.
Jerome Ford to the Browns. RIP.
Ooh, look at your rankings there on the show sheet here.
So do you
I know.
guys feel a certain way about Jelani Woods going to the Colts? I know he was kind of like a hyped tight end prospect based on the athleticism and abilities.
I probably have the firmest take on that. I love it. Now he just converted to tight end, so he doesn't have a lot of production history, but I think he's got like athleticism for days.
Converted from what position?
I think he was a quarterback in high school, but he has rotated around. I think he originally was like at Oklahoma. Somebody's gonna yell at me for being wrong in all this, but he was at some other school and then came to Virginia to play, specifically tight end, which was like the first time he had really got a chance to play. So good size, good athleticism. I think that it's not going to happen in year one. Like he's way too raw for that. but the upside is tremendous.
Is he your second ranked tight end behind McBride?
No, he's my first ranked tight end.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
And he's got a cool name too, Jelani. It's fun to say.
Greg, Dulcich went to Denver. Do you think that does anything to Albert O's value?
Yeah, I think it does. I think Dulcich is a much better pass catcher and like better prospect, better draft capital, better athleticism.
The Albert O hate coming.
Yeah, well, I mean, Albert O hasn't really done much, so I don't know why everybody's so obsessed with him. Not that Dulcich has, but I think there's too many mouths to feed.
It's
the classic
got to be a
statement.
wait and see. Whoever like bought Albert O at the high price after all the trades and Albert O became the number one tight end, they might get burned if they paid too much for him.
Yeah.
I was always kind of okay. I have Albert O on this team. I'm just going to wait and see what happens because it could go one of two ways, and we're not going to know until we see that team play. So.
My biggest beef with Albert O is I feel like he can only jump like 3 inches off the ground, but he's like so big. It's like doesn't really matter that much. But I want him to be like a Jimmy Graham, like jump out of the gym, plus have the height.
Basketball player.
He's much faster than Greg Dole. I don't even know how to say his last name.
Dulcich.
Greg D.
Dulcich. So Albert O ran a 4.49. Dulcich ran a 4.7. But Albert O doesn't have any burst or agility scores on record, and Dulcich was like 70th percentile, which is pretty solid. So maybe they just muddy each other up on the field, rotating and making everyone upset. That's like typically what happens with tight end.
How many pass catchers are they can Russ support for fantasy?
I would like to say 3 outside of the running back. Not like 3 major ones, but like definitely, 2 plus maybe a tight end that's tight end 10, which is kind of crappy, but still better than nothing.
I think
I'm excited for Sutton.
Albert O is going to be like tight end or touchdown dependent, so he like won't matter really. It's going to be like 400 yards and 8 TDs, and the 8 TDs is going to make him be a top 12 tight end. But when you look at
need
season,
those,
like,
you got to have a tight end 2, tight end 3 on your team.
Yeah, but like a tight end premium, I want the receptions. I don't want the TDs. Like I want the TDs because TDs are good, but I don't know. I think I want to go elsewhere, especially at the price. But that's why I'm starting Ricky Seals-Jones. So don't look at me for tight end. I'm nice.
All right. Do you guys have any like final thoughts about the NFL draft before we shut this thing down?
I knew there was a lot of good wide receivers, but I didn't realize to the full extent until I saw all these teams go wide receiver early. So I'm pretty excited. Young, good wide receivers is what you want in fantasy to build your team around, especially if you're rebuilding. So I'm pretty excited to get a new influx of wide receivers and help some of my teams out.
Yeah, I think this influx of talent replaces a lot of the lower end people that like Zach Pascal was one of the guys that I was like holding on to my roster for like for no reason. Like that dude's never going to really be good. And so some of the second round, third round picks in this year's draft are much better value. So like I was acquiring a lot of those picks. Now, I think the bigger question is still without the QBs, what does this first round really look like in the rookie drafts? And at what point do you think you're better off getting a 2023 pick? Random 2023 first. I think that number moved up. I think it's probably more like 106 now, 107. And I don't know how many people are going to make that trade. I know a lot of people are making that like 110, 111 trade for a 23 first. And I missed out on that boat, so feeling a little bad there, but I'm still kind of excited. I think this draft class is fun. It may not be great from like a value perspective relative to other classes.
I think I'm still taking 101 through 111 over any random 23 first.
We got some trades to make.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And speaking to the young wide receiver point that Jake made, I just want to mention that I've heard a lot of people talking about, in the sense of a rebuild dynasty team. A lot of people are always like, you have to build around quarterback. And I just think that's a false narrative that's put out there. I think you could definitely build around young wide receiver and rookie running backs and just tank your potential points and get a rookie quarterback. Like this year, take a shot on Pickett or get good value on the QBs that fell and, have those potential points shed off your roster from having that QB scoring points every week. And then you have your other players in place and maybe you get a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud next year, or if you're out to 2024 because your team's just that far away, Caleb Williams or Ewers. I don't think that you necessarily have to have those quarterback cornerstones on your team to build around. I think that's kind of a false narrative.
It's a good take.
So, with that ultimate wisdom, I'm going to shut this podcast down. You guys can't see my my hands with the camera.
Your Kenny Pickett hands.
Yeah, I have a very normal size hand, so that's why I'm an outlier. I'm just anyway. I'm just joking around, but anyway, so I'm gonna shut this podcast down now for myself, James Newton, for Payson Burnett, and for Jake, aka Super Packers. We are out.
Go Lions.
Boys.